Well, there you go. That was a slow changeover. Sorry, I thought I had that moved to the next scene. G'day, everybody. My name's Alan Carrington. I'm the bottom end of the world, and I'm so excited because we have a guest with us today, Jan, who's over. I'll let him tell you exactly where, but he's on the other end. And, the idea of having a guest from 10, maybe even 20,000 miles away and get it all out there is just mind-blogging. Blocking, boggling. I'm going to introduce Jan in a second. I just wanted to give you a quick background about this. Jan did this post in the Ecamm for Educators forum, and it was all about the new emojis in Zoom. Now that's exciting in itself, but the real exciting part about it was when he was started to talk about how he uses it for teaching and learning, and of course explosions went off in my head, and I thought, wow, well, even with all my experience, I've never really thought about using emojis to teach. So I headed off to the internet for my Google searches, as I do, and I've come up with some rather interesting material about how emojis are being used in learning and teaching. And then, of course, Jan started to talk about how he uses Zoom, etc. So we're going to have really quite a session today. And so, hi, Jan. How are you doing, mate? We have the
Hey,
sound?
nice
Yeah.
to join you from the other side.
The other side, yeah. Now, if you start calling me the dark side, we're in real trouble. You're probably right. But actually, you got the snow and I got the 104 degrees. So there's an interesting comparison, mate. Hope you don't mind me calling you mate. That's standard Australian default. Tell everybody your background. I've got some fascinating questions about what I'm seeing on the screen already, but shoot, mate, tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, when somebody asks me these days, what do you do? I usually respond with, I help people feel less alone. Because on one hand, that's a really quick way to just answer the question and get to the more interesting part, which is telling the story of how I actually do that. And on the other hand, I've always struggled with putting myself into one box. I always was doing so many different things. And as for many people, I think the last year has shown that we really have to pivot. So what I focused on for the last year is helping people create these magical human moments where we feel connected to other people through using technology, which was really hard for me because in person, the first thing that we usually do is we take our cell phones, we turn it off, we put it away so we can be present with each other. Now that we have to
Mm.
use technology to stay in touch with each other, I needed to find a way. How can we be present? What type of activities can we do that people walk away feeling heard, feeling seen? Because in my opinion, once you connect your participants or your students, that's almost essential for the real learning to happen, especially if you ask them to do anything that is uncomfortable or maybe a bit out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, well, you are really hitting my hot buttons, mate, because I'm gonna. You don't have to answer this on camera, okay? But I would really like to do another one at least. Excuse me, brainstorms about how we can get connected and how people can because and I'm old enough to say this, but I've been in online education for close to 30 years. I was one of the really, really early adopters in Kona in 1993. That's why. And so, the main attack from traditional educationalists is that online education is not as good as face-to-face because there's not enough connection. Now, we won't go there. I'd love to go there, but I'd love you to think about, and we can talk about this more, because really that is the number one big deal. Now, I've got this is the first time I've actually worked with a guest in this environment. Yes, me too. Look, the technology is mind blowing. Okay, what we can do with this, and of course the other, if we can work together as in our different specialties, the whole idea of being able to create an environment where they feel engaged and together, and then we can start to mine wisdom and knowledge. Now, they can feel good when they're entertained, but as far as education is concerned, it's really a big deal as how do we get the outcomes up, higher order thinking. They can teach themselves anything now. You just go to Google, and if you're prepared to put the hard yards, you can learn anything. But you can't train your mind. You've got to work with people to do that. Now, we're talking about emojis, okay? Now, I'm going to hand it all right across to you later, of course, but you started to talk about how emojis in Zoom, and we're going to get to this, but let's lay some foundations. There is guys, that comment is great. Let me just get this up so Jan can see it. Please sign, make the clearance statement so we can get up who you are. And if for those that are watching this, can you please tell us where you are, or your name, where you are, and by all means ask questions. Okay. I make the commitment, and I'm sure Jan, sorry mate, Jan will cooperate with us too. We will answer every question. If we don't do it here, we'll do it after the event. As I say in front of teachers in huge lecture theatres, which is true, especially in China, is that every question needs to be recorded and every question needs to be answered, and that's the way real learning happens. So we're going to start with how emojis work on a Mac. Okay. Now, I've been using an occasional smiley and an occasional wink. I use a lot of winks because I make a lot of humour, okay? But my goodness, especially in 14.2, okay, Jim, it's good to see you, mate. I'm going to throw them up so Jan can read them too. They'll disappear in a few seconds. Thank you. Look, seriously, guys, the possibilities of Ecamm in education, but it's not alone. It won't stand alone. And, of course, Jan's contribution later on will be talking about how to use it in Zoom. Now, people tell me Ecamm is a game changer in education, and I really want to know how and why. Now, in Apple Education, I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator, and the ADE's come up with this term called app smashing. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, Jan, but it's okay. It's an Apple thing, okay? But app smashing is a learning sequence where you take the output of one app and make it the input of another app and create a sequence of learning so that you can integrate educational technology. So Jan is this thing in Zoom is one technology, but let's introduce our learners to how we do it in a Mac.
How to type emojis on Mac. Smiley face, thumbs up emoji. Hypothetically speaking, if you wanted to leave a comment at the bottom of this video and say something like, "This is the best video tutorial about how to type emojis on a Mac," and in addition to hitting thumbs up on the video, you want to leave a thumbs up emoji at the end of that statement, you'll want to bring up this, the emoji and symbols window. And it's easily accessible from your keyboard while typing a couple different ways. At the cursor, you can right click or hold Control and hit the pad, and the first option to choose is emoji and symbols. Alternatively, you can go up to edit and scroll scroll down to emoji and symbols, but my favorite way to access this menu, and I think the fastest, is through the keyboard shortcut Control-Command-Space. That gives you access to not only the whole emoji library, but also a bunch of symbols that you might need to use as well, like the copyright or trademark icons. Additionally, if you were to scroll all the way up, then you can search for whatever emoji or symbol that you're looking for, but what I think is more important is to the right of the search bar is an icon that allows you to expand this into its own standalone window, called the Character Viewer. Now you have a much bigger interface that you can keep off to the side, and if you need to find a certain emoji, symbol, or even a certain letter, it's easy to search for, or you could just browse through the whole library of characters available to you. If you're somebody that always needs access to this window, you can go up to Apple, System Preferences, Keyboard, Show Keyboard and Emoji Viewers in Menu Bar. This will put that Show Emoji and Symbols icon straight on the top right-hand corner of your menu bar. When it comes to selecting emojis, for most emojis that offer skin tones, if you click once, it will automatically show those to you. But if you want to change the skin tone on emojis that are used more often, you'll have to click and hold the mouse down to see those options. To insert an emoji from this window, just double-click. By clicking that window icon in the right-hand corner again, we now go back to the abbreviated version of this window, except we can move it around anywhere we want to still. You can also achieve this same standalone window by clicking and dragging in the negative space after you've brought up the Show Emoji and Symbols. If you're using a Mac that has a touch bar, when you're typing in a field that allows emojis, you'll see a smiley face on the left of the touch bar. Tap that, and you'll be able to swipe on the touch bar to whatever emoji you want to select. And if all else fails, you can always go to a website like emojipedia.org, find the emoji that you want, copy it, and then paste it into where you're typing. Please don't use that last method. I too used to copy and paste emojis from a website, but trust me, hitting Control-Command-Spacebar is so much faster. My name's Javier Mercedes. I normally cover video tech tutorials like Premiere Pro and video gear reviews on this channel. If that interests you, click on another video, and if not, I hope you're out there living a life of abundance.
Okay, my pedagogy.
What a great tutorial.
It is, and this, I'm going to ask you a question in a second, Jan. But just to make a comment, guys, I'm always a teacher. All right, sorry about that. But the pedagogy is, if you get a person, find a source of a great piece of teaching, use the video, because it's been focused and it hits it. And I could have talked about that, and better, Jan could have talked about it. Jan, does the way he talks, the way he's, all these emojis that are in what we'll call the emoji library on a Mac, do they work in Zoom?
Yeah, they work on Zoom. They actually work, I think, across most apps. At least I'm on a Mac. I know if you're on a Windows PC, I think it's Windows symbol plus a period or plus the semicolon sign that would get you something similar. And I'm actually curious if anybody's watching this, like, comment and try it out. See if you can add some emojis to your next comments.
Oh,
so you
yeah.
can see if you get that working already.
Yeah, this one, Jan, is when I'm in front of a load of teachers, and I've done that in a number of countries, so it's cross-cultural. I ask them to do a number of actions, all right, but the one in particular that they all laugh at and love is that I'm seriously looking at 300 teachers, right, and I say to them, this, right, can they see that? Yeah, okay, and that is, you're above my head, I'm lost, right, and when I saw that, I went looking for above the head, and I can find one like that, but I can't find one like that. So I've come up with the so guys,
the face palm.
The face palm, that's what it's called. So guys, add that to your favorites and hit it anytime that Jan and I lose you. And that's not a bad place to be, because it only means one thing, guys. If you get lost, it means that we're not doing our job right. It's all about the student. It's never about the teacher. So let's talk about it. Okay, next thing is it's just when you thought it was safe to go back into your emojis, they released 14.2. So I haven't got it yet. Are you using Suri, or what's it called? 14.2, whatever it's called, the operating system, the latest one.
Yeah.
Are you using it yet?
So I actually don't have an iPhone. So
no,
and my MacBook. Yeah.
Forgive me.
And my MacBook is not up to date. Yeah.
Yeah, either is mine because I've held back. But so we can't actually see it like this. You can on the iPhone, but on my Mac it's not like this yet. But it's pretty exciting. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so these are the new emojis in 14.2 for a start, but they're not. We haven't got it available at the moment. So it's obvious that Apple consider the emoji as an important communication device. You got any comments on that, Jan?
Now I actually was just checking if I really don't have these emojis because I've seen some of them pop up somewhere. I just wasn't sure where.
Either I don't know either, and I will go and explore to see them, because what we're going to talk about in a second about this is really quite a powerful teaching practice. So let's have a look at this. This is an interesting thing.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm just going to share with you a quick new feature that's been made available in iOS 14.2, and that's a new search feature for your emoji. So when we're using an application where we need to type something, let's just use a SMS messenger for the moment, and if we type in some kind of keyword, down the bottom we're going to see any emojis that match what we're typing. So if I type in ninja, you can see we have a ninja. Obviously it's not a very good ninja, because if it was a good ninja we wouldn't be able to see it. Let's type in something else, wedding, and we get back emojis of a bride and what looks to be a church. Now let's take a look at that same feature running on an iPhone. Now this time, if we enter the emoji keyboard, we do actually get its own little search bar here, where we can type in the same sorts of things. Let's type in the same thing again. We'll type in ninja, and there we go. All right, let's test something else. Type in dumb, and we're going to get, well, we don't really get a dumbbell. We get some weights, and we get a muscle arm there. Let's go again, food. Of course, we get food, cake. There we go. And let's settle an old argument. Is it an ice cream or is it something else? So let's type in poop. And yep, there is that emoji. So Apple is confirming that it is indeed not an ice cream. And just to make absolute certain, let's type in ice cream. And of course, there it is. And as you might expect, this emoji keyboard search function is iOS wide, meaning you can use it in other applications as well. So if I quickly open up Facebook, and we'll just type something in here. Hi, I need a, and we'll search for poop. Okay, not the best example, but you can certainly see that it is going to work in every application in exactly the same way. So there you have the new emoji search function in iOS 14.2. So we no longer need to swipe through pages and pages of emoji images to find the one we want. We could just simply type in a keyword and search for it that way. So we hope you enjoyed this video, folks. Don't forget to subscribe, give this video a like, and we'll see you in the next one.
I'm just mentioning, guys, that video, how I use the videos, for those that are watching who are trying to work out why there's a QR code. Wrong way. That way. Sorry, where QR code is up in the corner. That way, yeah. Things are back to front. Okay, that if you point your phone, any phone, Android or Apple, shall I say a recent phone anyway, but if you've got a recent operating system, it's in that, your camera will recognize the QR code and give you the URL for that tutorial. So QR codes are a bridge between a video and linking, and everything I do has two things on it for attribution, at the risk of starting to talk about academic rigor, I give it attribution in the bit.ly link down the bottom, and that one you can literally note it down, put that in your browser, and away you go. All right, Jan. Okay. See, I didn't set this up right, did I? I didn't keep leaving your name off. There we go. That's something I'm learning as we go. Okay. Now, quickly, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple of little bits about the importance to education. Then I'm going to hand it over to you, mate. This is an article from the Australian Catholic University in Australia, which is a very fine university, and it makes some interesting points there. Jump in, Jan, if you see something that you want to comment about, of course. The students went from using quite basic and simplistic emotional language to then being able to describe emotions in very sophisticated terms. Now, this is with the little people. Any comments you want to make about what happens to adults, Jan? I'd put you on the spot, mate, but
I think every time you give someone different ways to express themselves, like for some people it might be easier in emojis, for other people it might be easier in text. Knowing myself and my vocabulary of explaining emotions might be not as great, but if I look at the different little faces, I might find something that resonates with me. So I think even for adults, giving people the option to use like different ways of expressing themselves, you will get more of them contributing.
well, what are you Canadian or were you born somewhere else?
So I was born in Germany, so English is not my first language. So even there, just like the actual vocabulary might not be there, but even with like in German, I didn't grow up talking about my emotions that much that I know how to describe everything. So emojis sometimes help.
Always help. Okay, I'll take it one step further. Because I'm an Australian, and the Yanks make the huge difference or a problem, a bad idea that Australians and Americans are the same. Okay, they're not, and Australians and Germans are definitely not the same, right? So there is times when I say something that you probably will interpret it completely differently than the way I meant it. And that's why I use the wink emoji, about 100 times a day, because I'm saying things that I know I know that could be a problem to another culture. So cross-cultural communication, this is huge. This is huge. And look, and this next little introduction, it's only 30 seconds, but it introduces us to a whole new idea.
Students in Queensland will soon be able to tell their teachers how they're feeling through emojis. A new technology used in classrooms across the state has launched a feature encouraging children to use the popular yellow faces, usually reserved for text and social media messages. It will allow kids to communicate a range of feelings from happy, bored and confused to their teacher as part of a greater focus on mental health and well-being.
Well, what do you think?
I think that really helps, like, not only get them to just understand their emotions more, like just the idea of asking that question, I think is already really good. Like, how many times are you being asked to like really answer how you feel? I know. So I've actually traveled in Australia and lived in Australia for a year. So I'm a bit familiar with your culture there. And like same thing, like Canada, America, there is this culture of, hey, how's it going? As a question. And nobody really expects you to answer it. It's like, fine, thanks, how are you? In Germany, nobody ever asks you, hey, how's it going? If they ask you that question, they actually want to really know and get a real answer. So I struggled in the beginning in both Australia and Canada, because people would ask me, hey, how's it going? And I would tell them like my whole story of how I was feeling. and they were like, "Oh, that's not what I wanted to know."
Yeah, and they're wrong because I particularly a guy who worked for us 25 years ago. It was a really interesting guy, wonderful man. But he'd answer that question intentionally with a real answer when they asked the question, and they say, "How are you going?" He said, "Oh, well, I've got this real problem, I've got the headache and I want to do this and I do that." So, I don't think you're wrong. I think the person asking the question is wrong, but it opens, the emoji does help a lot to communicate cross-culturally. It's really interesting. Let's talk about this thing that I'm going to ask you to explain more about it. As you know, we were going to run the tutorial, and I thought, no, let's have Jan do it. There's actually only 2 people watching at the moment, but that's okay because we got a big reach through Twitter and so on afterwards. Jan, I'm going to hand it across to you, and can you explain about these new emojis and some of the ideas that you've got that you consider it's empowered your teaching? If you can bring Ecamm into it in any way and say what Ecamm's done for this, that would be helpful too. So over to you, mate.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to see if this works with sharing my screen. In case you need to chat with me or something's not working, I actually might not be able to see my screen anymore as I'm sharing something else. But in Zoom, this is kind of where I spend most of my time these days, either connecting with friends, family, but also teaching a lot of workshops for adults on how to create more engaging virtual experiences. So on one hand, we can use emojis the same way with the keyboard shortcut in the chat, and just like we'll talk about some activities later. But the new feature is actually down here. There's a button that says reactions, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. And this is where I'm using Ecamm to teach, because sometimes I feel like this will be a little bit easier for me to show what I'm talking about. We now get a range of different emojis. It's not as extensive as the emoji library on the Mac, but we get the clapping hands, we get the thumbs up, the heart, the kind of laughing until we're crying emoji, the surprised face, the party hat. And those were there, I think, since sometime in the summer last year. And now they've added the yes, no, slower, faster as well. And what happens when you click any of those is, actually, don't know where, hold on, I need to click on another button to show you. Here. So when somebody clicks one of those emojis, you can see in the top left corner, this is where it will show up. And all of those emojis, they will show up for about 10 seconds before they disappear again. So the way I use them, and I use them often as a addition or substitute from just doing a quick check-in with my participants. Like, does this make sense? Give me a thumbs up, either in the camera or they can click the emoji button. And the emojis, as you can see right now, I actually have my video off in Zoom. So it still shows up on people's little thumbnail when their videos are off. And that's a great way for me to know if somebody doesn't have, let's say, fast internet connection and they just can't turn on their video camera. But I still want to make sure that they're paying attention, that it makes sense with them before we're moving on to the next step. They can click those. And then the other thing that is in here, hold on, I need to zoom back over to the other view. Whoops, wrong button, is the raise hand. And this actually is an emoji that stays up, basically saying, I have a question, and stay in the corner until either they lower their hand, like you can click it again and then lower it again, or until me as the host kind of asks them to unmute themselves, share their question, and then I move on to like the next step. So those are some of the things that, and I'll show you how it looks like. You can see in the top corner, now the hand is up, and that stays up until I click the button again. so those are some of the things I started using. But also, aside from like the quick check-in, the one thing I like to do is come up with like fun ways we can use this. And sometimes I might have people vote. Like, can we do an impromptu poll? Let's come up with like a question on a random topic. Do you live in Australia or do you live outside of Australia? Click yes or no, and then you could have people vote. Or do you agree with this statement? Give me a thumbs up. So you can ask some questions and get feedback, have people like give them a choice of different things to click. And yeah, I like that, doing that in combination sometimes with having people doing an actual thumbs up or like reaction, any non-verbal feedback that they can give me. All right, I'll come back to you for the next part. Curious if you have any questions, Alan, on this, or
Do I
ideas.
have any questions? That's a dangerous thing to ask. Look, that's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. I work for an organisation, or work in a volunteer to an organisation that can have 300 and 400 people in a Zoom room, literally. I don't know how. Oh, there's that. Your name's missing. It has to be per scene, by the way, Jan. That's interesting. Remember to set that up, Alan. When you using the hands up, does that do that in the middle of what you're talking about, or do you wait to the end? It's not a real Zoom question, but it's a pedagogy question.
Yes. So I think it's all depends on how you set up your lesson or your workshop. I often say that either we'll take questions throughout, and like after every like teaching part, I'll pause and see if there's any questions, or maybe there's a question and answer period at the end. So usually that's where I tell people now, like, are there any questions? Click the raise hand button and let me know.
Do they put the question in the comments, the text comment? Is that what you? How do you manage that question?
It again depends. I actually, if I work with smaller groups, I don't mind, especially if I'm spending more time with them just unmuting themselves and sharing the question out loud, and then I respond. If it's like a larger group, I think it makes sense that maybe they post it in the chat, but that could also get lost really easily.
Yeah. But it's really interesting stuff. There was another one. Yes, no.
Slower, faster.
Slower, faster.
And actually, the slower, faster is one. I actually only have used it in a way that it wasn't intended to. I think what it's meant to, and I actually don't like it for that reason that much, is let's move on with the content, let's go faster, or can we slow down here? I don't understand. I've never used it that way. I've only used it for like a fun activity where like somebody is a puppet and the participants can choose, should that puppet move faster or slower with like music. So just more of like a fun way, but not in a like productive way. I have not found the right application for it yet.
Yeah, I honestly, the idea of telling you to go faster or slower is, okay, it might be too slow for me, but it's too fast for the next person. So where do you find the measure on that? I don't know.
Yeah, thinking about it right now, you could probably pause and then ask everyone, does this make sense? Should we move on or should we spend some more time here? Just click either faster or slower. Like,
yeah,
and then see, okay, it looks like 30% are ready to move on, but 60% want to like slow it down. So let's spend more time on this topic.
That's what they call, that's called just-in-time teaching, actually, but we won't spin off too far on that one. The idea that you can get back from your learners indicators to show where they're at, so that you know what to do. Okay, I'll give them that. we're gonna talk about two aspects of this, which is not particularly Zoom centered, okay? But again, here, guys, this is my attribution slide, as it's called. So this is genuinely to avoid plagiarism, to say where they come from. It's all part of the, I used to get myself into terrible trouble, 20 years ago when I wanted to put photos or images into my college papers, when I was doing my master's degrees, and they nearly freaked. Hey, you can't put pictures in. Now, an interesting question would be, can you put emojis in college papers? And that's a real stirring one. But here are the two aspects. I'm gonna do my screen now, which I do less than you do. Okay, but this should now go across to my slide, and I'll show you how this works. And these are just scratching the surface. Okay, that works. Okay, but what we got here is, where are we? Yeah. Losing a cursor is always a problem. Sorry about that. Here, I've got 3 monitors, and it's a bummer. But here, this is a can you guess Shakespeare? Okay, now setting up a quiz on a web page like this is quite not rocket science either. But this one I found, and it was quite interesting. And my wife, who was an English lit type person, bless her, because I'm not. And most of the good marks in my college papers, in my 2 master's degrees, because of her. That's the truth. But she got it wrong, some of these wrong, and these are questions about what is, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is a quiz using emojis, and you interpret the emoji set, and then you decide which play it represents. And we'll go back to the top, all right? And there's Othello, Romeo and Juliet, one I've never even heard of, and Antony and Cleopatra. Now, guys, go there and enjoy it, but the learning possibilities of this are quite interesting. Now, here's another thing. Where is my cursor? There it is. This one's particularly interesting. This is a random generator, okay? Now, I had never thought about this one either. But here, these prompts, and you can say, okay, here, we'll start over. Okay, what's that, an ice cream? No, it's a cupcake, I think.
Cupcake or something?
Yeah, whatever that is. What's the next one? I don't know that either. Okay.
A skull.
A skull. So you ask your learners to tell us a story about it.
Mm-hmm.
And just so you add it, and then you can build I don't know, it's only got 3, is it? No, it's got 4. It's a bit slow. So you can literally ask them to generate the next emoji and then continues telling the story. That sends their creative genes in overdrive. And the kids have less trouble with that than the adults do. Right? The adults get all hung up because they've been trained to evaluate everything. The kids, no problem. They'll make up the fact that the cupcake was being eaten by a ghost. What's the next one? I don't know. What's that next one? I don't know what that is. Jan, do you know what that is? Is it a straw? No, it's not a strawberry. That's the problem.
Honey?
Honey.
A pot of honey, maybe?
Maybe a pot of honey. Well, it can be a pot of honey. It is now. That's another interesting whole area. Okay, so that's it. So these guys, and we're going to be wrapping it up soon, but these are 10 amazing ways to use emojis in the classroom. We're going to handle it idea at a time, and Jan, jump in if you've got any comments, of course. But here's the first 2 ideas. Lesson starters. Okay, there is a series of emoticons, or emojis as they're called, and that lesson, they tell you what it is, okay? But what do you think the lesson will be about today? And that's global warming. That's pretty fascinating, actually. So emojis as lesson starters will send engagement up big time. Particularly with the kids, little people, but big people. Let me say this to you, Jan. I can tell you, I've got experience to prove this. But I worked for a what they call a G8 group of 8 university. That's the top 8 universities in Australia. I work for one in Adelaide, and our professors are no different than academics around the world. They're professors. My professors in Germany hold a high rank, but they will play a game to learn. And it's quite interesting to watch a class of high-ranking academics all having fun with an emoji game. Not emojis, but a game, So, the idea, and again, we won't get into it, but adult education and child education, there's not a lot of difference in pedagogy, okay?
Play is a powerful way to teach.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
there's widgets. I found widgets when I was doing the research for this, Jan. But I never been able to get widgets to work in Ecamm yet. I don't know what it is, and I'm not sure what they're supposed to do. But the idea of them able to click on an Ecamm live video stream and make it do something is going to interactive video is what we call it. I don't know how they do that. But linking to emojis in topics, here's another one. Explain how emoji is connected to the topic of equality. So, it's got fantastic potential. Here's another one. Okay, guess who? Okay, and this exercise is done like a popular Guess Who's game. The game is so much fun, it teaches your students to describe a person instead of a character out of a game. Excuse me. And this last one, of course, all the gamblers in me, spin machine. And so you're randomly speaking exercise. So it's kind of like the random thing we were looking at, except they just press it to spin. These are all book widgets, and they're all available, guys, on the website that are on the first slide. Any comments, Jan, before we move on?
I'll throw in one activity that I've done as well, which maybe is even on the list. I'm not sure anymore. But one that was a lot of fun with a smaller group was a person has to recreate an emoji like with their face, and everybody else has to guess which one it is. Just again, like a fun way to get started. And what I've done before is like secretly send them the emoji that I want them to do. So I kind of choose the ones that are maybe not impossible to guess.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't touch that in there. Do you want your full screen back again? Can you show them how do you create an emoji out of your own face? I've seen people do that, but I don't know how to do that. Is it?
Well, it's basically part charades, because like if you like, for example, the queen. If the queen was the emoji, I might be doing something like this. And hopefully somebody can guess that I'm doing the royal wave.
Okay. Yeah, right. I thought there might have been a software. How do they make a lookalike emoji out of themselves? Do you know how to do that? If you don't, that's okay.
Yeah, I think there's something like Snapchat filters for that.
Okay, I'll put another post up if we can put something together on that one, because I'm not sure. Okay, let's move on to the next one. It's the same sort of thing, flashcards, and that other word thing on there. And again, these are all available at Book Widgets. They're all available to be put up and used. The emoji maps your face expressions. Okay, how do I if you know the link to that, somebody in the comment section add it in. That would be a valuable resource for people who are watching this after the event. But both these are games, guys. They're just games with emoji, but they're really, really powerful stuff. Next one. This is 7 and 8. Now, this is really interesting, okay? This rebus thing, which I didn't even know what that word meant, I'll be honest. Not that I'm supposed to be an expert. Joke, joke. A rebus is a story where pictures replace words or parts of words. This exercise can be really challenging activity. Students can write their own stories or retell stories that have read in class and rewrite some traditional stories. So this whole idea of writing, a famous, maybe the Lincoln speech or something using emojis, it has value. And of course, this summarising something important in emojis. Any comments, Jan, before we move on?
No, this is great. This is like trying to read like Egyptian hieroglyphs a little bit as well. So it could be a bit of a detective game too, right?
Yes,
Trying to figure
yes.
out what is this text about.
Yes, absolutely. And it would lend itself to group work by, even if we just throw them into the groups on Zoom and say there's a rebus, now I know a word, but interpret it, tell us what you think it is, and then what. Yeah, powerful pedagogy. Okay, this is quite also interesting, and it lends itself to. I think you mentioned something about exit windows or how exit tickets, etc. And I think you've got something to say. I hope you do about this, because this is all about evaluation, online evaluation, and it's really important that this be built into lessons. You want to comment about this?
Yeah. I actually do something like this often at the beginning of a workshop or when I start working with a group, where I do a bit of a check-in and see like where are people at today, like how are you feeling today? And one way you could use emojis for that is just ask them like which emoji represents how you're feeling today, and drop that in the chat as one way. Or you could have like in kind of that graphic that is above me, like give them a few options and then say, choose one of those. And I don't know if in Zoom you've ever used annotations before, but there is a way where you share a slide and then everybody can like drop a stamp somewhere on the slide and vote by that. So I use something like that sometimes as well.
Wow.
And for there, actually, what I prefer using to emojis is, I don't know if you've seen these memes of like cats and dogs of like which cat are you today, and it's like a sleepy cat and a happy cat and a surprised cat, kind of same thing, just not using emojis but like animal
Yes,
photos.
animal
So
photos. Really
yeah.
wonderful stuff, guys. The it's interesting in Ecamm that where we've got I don't know about you, but unless I'm doing something wrong, but my ability to add my comments to the stream at the moment, I can't do it in the program anymore. I've got to go back over to
To Facebook.
Facebook. I didn't. Am I crazy? But wasn't that in the program originally?
I
Maybe it's a Facebook
I
change.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think you could like comments in Ecamm, but I'm not sure if you could
Well,
like
I can't
write comments
I
yourself.
can't I can't put an emoji in using the Ecamm
Hmm.
interface. I've got to do it in Facebook. That's something that we could talk about maybe in Ecamm for beta or beta Ecamm, but really in Zoom, and all the other programs, it's really a very powerful thing. And the evaluation and this idea of asking more detailed questions, yet still giving emojis as a response, like you've got over there. I can reach a judgment in my conclusion, right? These are they're heavy duty questions, but they're still in emojis and they're quite interesting. Okay, this is how is exit tickets. A little bit deeper into this, if you want to comment, Jan. These other uses are very interesting. That's a website, guys. I take note of it. Go look at it, and think about how you can use exit slips and exit tickets. That's
Yeah.
what we
The,
call.
This one reminds me a lot. I don't know if you have those in Australia too, but here in North America, when you leave a public washroom, often they have like one of those stands that has the 3 emojis on it. Like, how
Yeah.
happy were you with your washroom or with your service at like a restaurant? That's what it reminds me of. But
Yeah,
I have
and
not used them in like facilitation or like running classes yet.
I know how good they are, and I haven't literally, I've spent the last 9 months, mainly because of my age and because of my respiratory issues. I've been housebound, self inflicted because of the pandemic. I'm at a high risk. Okay, excuse me, and so I've been mainly working in developing Ecamm skills and developing my ability to work in Zoom, etc. I'm still got a long way to go, but exit slips or evaluation, as we used to call it, it's just a type of evaluation, is really important. And so there is a lot in that website, and so I'll just let it hang there. I do. Here we go. I really appreciate your time, Jan. It's been great, and it's proved, I helpful to a lot of people. It will, even after the event. Now we're going to wrap this up. Is just the last words at all? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think because the different platforms make it now easier to use emojis, it's a great way to start thinking of how you might want to use it. And to me, the biggest one is, can we make it easier for people to describe how they're feeling in the moment or on the day about the content in general? Like, there's so many things happening in the world that sometimes just doing a quick check-in in the beginning, seeing where everybody's at, will help you adjust your lesson. I forgot what the proper term was earlier, but like checking in with your participants, with your students often. Emojis are a great way to just like, yes, I'm still here, let's keep going, or I need a little bit of extra time. Also, I want to just show you this that I just created this week. Sometimes the not digital emojis are really fun to bring in as well, because that's something that really stands out from just doing something where you're clicking a button.
Mate, you've given us a gem in the last few minutes of the live. That's a fantastic idea, guys. Teachers, pay attention, right? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go away now and build it. I'm going to build this one. We've talked about it.
Well, actually, I got this one from a kindergarten teacher.
Now, what does that mean?
I saw this.
Icon.
If you're on mute, and I can't hear you, then I will pull up this, and that is asking you the question: is your mic on? Oh no! Here, let me unmute myself.
Yes, I understand that. Mic on or unmute or something. Yeah, that's another good one. Mm-hmm. This idea of manual. This is a gem, guys. This is an absolute gem. Maybe what I can do, I can build some in a PDF, maybe a PDF where you could print them out and cut them up and put them on cardboard. All right, that's and that's what sort of stick is that, Jan? Sorry.
Oh, they're just like the tongue depressors that you would get at the doctor visit.
Okay, excellent. I've got to put in an ad, guys. I've got to put in an ad because even though we're inside a Facebook group, I'm going to tweet this. I have 2,000 followers on Twitter, and they're all teachers, and not all of them have ever heard of this crazy product, crazily good product. So I'm going to put an ad in, guys. Yes, I'm an affiliate for this, and if you want to evaluate and look at Ecamm Live, please use that link. It gives me a little bit of financial support for me. I'm retired. I don't get in pay for anything. But the reality is that I also would love to collaborate with you. I promise you in an hour at least, and it's never just an hour. But anyway, use that link if you want to. Now, moving on. This is fun, guys. We're going to run a video. We're going to shut off. But be careful, you will get sucked into this one big time, I tell you. I had to cut it down. The original video is nearly 15 minutes, okay? I've only heard 5 of it, okay? But these are throwing riddles up, and they're fun, and they're challenging, and enjoy. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Jan, for your time. And be safe, all of you. Be safe.